All right. Hello, everybody. Good morning and good afternoon to you wherever you are in the world. Welcome to our webinar today. Our webinar today is called Unleash Innovation with Proactive Service Operations. And we're so fortunate to have both Robert Bryan and Damian Davis with us today that will dive into really the ins and outs of ITSM Pro on ServiceNow and give you some insight into what's possible on that platform. Just a few housekeeping items before we dig in. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand after the fact. So you'll receive a link to that. Feel free to watch it. If you're not able to attend live, watch it at your convenience. Or if there's anything you missed, you can rewatch it again later or share it with your colleagues. Q&A, we'll have Q&A at the end, but at any point, feel free to submit a question you might have into the Q&A. There's a widget on the bottom of your screen where you can do that, and we'll address them all at the end of the session. There will be some poll questions that will be asked of you throughout the presentation, so keep an eye out for that. Don't walk away from your computer for too long because you might miss something really interesting. So keep an eye out for our polls. Chat, you can engage with our chat widget at the bottom of your toolbar as well. And any other widgets that you see down there, feel free to engage with. We have some related content and other things that you might find of value. So take a look at the platform. It's really interactive, really a lot of good content that's been curated for you. And if there's any issue or if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us through the chat at any time. With that, I will hand it off to Robert Bryan, who will lead us from here.
Thanks, Caitlin, and thank you everyone for joining. My name's Robert Bryan, and today we're going to be talking about enhancing employee experience, customer satisfaction, and proactive service operations through ITSM Pro. If you're using the old ITSA license and you want to know how to mature on the platform, or if you already have ITSM Pro but don't know where to start, this will be a good conversation for you to hear. Just so we paint a picture, some statistics which make this conversation relevant. A 2022 study by Gartner found that 87% of CIOs see artificial intelligence technologies as a major investment area. And another study by Forrester has found 57% of companies report that artificial intelligence improved employee engagement. And 35% say AI helped reduce employee turnover. So some pretty hard-hitting statistics there of why ITSM Pro and artificial intelligence is so relevant. Before I introduce myself and Damian, I just want to get to know the audience a bit better. So what we would like to understand is, where are you in your maturity journey? If you could select the best option, we've got about 30 seconds. And you can see we've got reactive, responsive, intelligent, and self-healing. Some of, it kind of gives us an idea of where you are in your journey. So we can maybe tailor some of what we talk about today.
I'm not too sure we'll see many self-healings.
Yeah, I mean, that's the utopia, right? That's where we all want to get to. And it is a stage-by-stage process.
And if we've got a lot of people in the reactive state, then, obviously later in the webinar, we can start talking about maturity and about, the differences between ITSM Standard and ITSM Pro and how we can help people through that maturity curve.
Yeah, because you can't just jump to the self-healing as much as we would all like to. We do have to go through that process. Okay, so we'll give it a couple more seconds and then we'll close that question. Okay, so that's that. So if we move on, so we'll take a look at the results of that poll shortly, but let me introduce myself. So my name's Robert Bryan. I'm the ITOM Practice Manager at Crossviews. I've got several years of experience of consulting on the Now platform and other platforms. I'm certified in several different areas as well, and I've got plenty of experience of implementing in various different industries as well and different areas of the platform. These days, I'm more focused on business value alignment, so identifying what businesses want to achieve and aligning that to capabilities of the Now platform. And today we're joined by a very special guest, Damien Davis. Damien, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Rob. I think you've done a great job with the slide. So I've been working at ServiceNow for about 10 and a half years, joined the company in 2011. And prior to that was working at Fujitsu, working on a service desk, which is one of the challenges and the use cases that we try to solve with our ITSM product. And during my 10 years working at ServiceNow, I've spent the last 5 or 6 years working in the ITSM business unit, leading our product management efforts so that we can evaluate customer feedback, which is a gift. Even if it's negative, we can turn it into an actionable insight. And that really helps us, influence the product roadmap and the innovation that goes into the continual releases that you see on the ServiceNow platform.
Yeah. And I imagine working on that service desk, you understand some of the pain that some of our customers are going through today.
Absolutely. The technology I was using back in my help desk days was nowhere near in the same league as what we're seeing today with ServiceNow, and even being completely transparent with some of our competitive solutions as well.
Yeah, I suppose artificial intelligence wasn't even a term that people were using back then.
I think it was a sci-fi concept in the movies, right?
So let's talk about context, Damien. What I want people to understand is, where does ITSM Pro fit within the Now platform? Because obviously,
sure,
it's pretty huge these days. It's a platform for digital business. Where does that fit within this ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. Look, at the start of the year, we repurposed a whole new structure for looking at our world from our customers' perspective. That sort of outside-in view, helping our customers realize transformation benefits of all of our ServiceNow solutions. And as you can see, we've got 4 main workflows that sit at the top of our platform for digital business. Now, the business unit that I work in, the ITSM business unit, lines up to our technology workflows. And that's where we help customers accelerate digital transformation through agile, cost-effective, resilient delivery of technology across the organization.
Yeah, and that's also the workflow where ITOM sits as well, which is
absolutely
where my specialism and background is these days. But I think the important message is that ServiceNow is not just ITSM. Even though we're talking about that today in ITSM Pro, it's much bigger than that. It is a digital platform that you can run your entire business on. From IT to HR, it's a platform as a service these days. And one of the things that I've seen customers go down the path previously is that Frankenstein approach of trying to integrate to multiple different tools. And I think then, the initial cost of that might seem attractive, but the long-term cost of maintaining it is pretty huge. And I think that the whole idea of everything on one platform is the value here. Okay, so let's talk about some of the challenges we see today with our customers. So overworked and unhappy employees, explosive demand for new digital services, high time to market pressures with old legacy systems, all whilst adhering to increasingly stringent governance requirements. Now, does this sound familiar? Because technology leaders are expected to provide more and better services for less. And essentially, it's complicated. It is not easy. I completely understand that. Damien, can you share with us some of the challenges you're seeing with your customers?
Absolutely. And obviously, this slide kind of highlights, a lot of what we're hearing in the field. But I think if I was to sort of summarize it up, especially in the ITSM and ITOM space, we think about, you've got the challenges there of the whole organization, but let's take a step back into that technology organization. So you've got an IT leader, technology leader, you've got a service desk that's managing all of that technology demands, you know, people calling in for problems with their mobile phone or maybe a password reset. And the challenges that we're seeing is that, you know, a lot of organizations have limited ability for their IT department to deliver these modern services because they're managing legacy, on-premise, old technology. And a sort of a catapult of that is that there's a poor integration between disparate data sources, processes, and tools. And what that results in is too much time spent on like firefighting, you know, from my help desk days, managing a P1, managing an outage, instead of delivering value or delivering services. And for the leadership team, you know, having a lack of real-time visibility makes it almost impossible to make any informed decisions on how to continually improve.
Yeah, definitely. And I think some of the challenges we've seen with the pandemic, which has kind of instigated, you know, the Great Resignation, and people are looking at work in a different light now. They want work to work for them. They don't want to have to go into the office, you know, 5 days a week. They want to be able to work from home on a cloud platform. They want to be able to work on a mobile. You know, it's a beautiful day outside. Why shouldn't you be able to do that and be flexible? I think customers are seeing a lot of churn in terms of their employees, and that's because there is a rich job market, I think. But you know, we've got to give people and our employees a better experience so that they want to stay. I think that's really key for us to kind of, you know, provide a better service, because if you look after the people, I genuinely think that you do get a better service off the back of that. Something else which I think is something I'm seeing is the, you know, the hybrid work as well. I know that when the pandemic hit, a lot of people obviously working from home, and there's a lot of demand for, you know, technology, a lot of remote working, and a lot of companies didn't have the capability to support that remote working, right? And that's expedited the move to the cloud, where, you know, customers might have a hybrid solution, but there's complex in moving that, and it's expensive as well, right? You don't want to just lift and shift everything. You want to be able to do things in a cost-effective way. So there's lots of challenges that I think you know, our customers are going through at the moment. So let's move on and talk about what people's strategic priorities currently, because we've talked about, you know, employee experience and customer experience and satisfaction. Efficiency is something that I see customers wanting to achieve, and operational excellence is another key objective. Where do you find yourselves? You know, what is your top priority? So if you guys could just take a few moments to select that. Obviously, there's not much compared to the last question, but one thing that I would point out is that you can't pick multiple, because I think in the past customers have wanted everything and they've wanted it yesterday. But we had a Crossfuse Way at the start of the year, and we had a speaker there that spoke to us about how you can only have a priority, and priorities are just something that has come around in recent years, where people just want more and more and more, but we have to focus and stay focused on that priority.
So I can't remember who the author is, but I heard a great saying that says if you have more than 3 priorities, then nothing is a priority. I know that there's some great literature out there. And I don't want to influence people's polling here, but I've certainly got my thoughts on this if you want to chat about it, Rob, because I think that there's one that definitely stands out to me that can leapfrog, you know, delivering the other 3.
Yeah. I mean, what's your top choice then, Damien? Where would you put your money?
I'll go with the Richard Branson methodology, where he said if you take care of your employees, they'll take care of your customers. And ultimately, if we can deliver a world-class employee experience, that will result in a better customer experience. It will result in increased efficiency and that operational excellence, because by improving the employee experience, like, as a human being, I come to work. Now at home, I have my mobile phone in the palm of my hand. And if I just pull up my home screen, I can look at the apps that I use on my phone, things like my mobile banking, things like the Met Office if I want to check the weather, and just the various apps that just work. Amazon when I want to order something. And in the workplace, people expect that same consumer grade experience. So if you deliver your employees that consumer grade experience, that's going to result in them being more productive, more efficient. That makes your operations more excellent, and it's going to ultimately result in a better customer experience.
Yeah, I'd say a lot like the newer generation, that's their expectations. That's nothing new. They expect that as the norm.
I don't think it's exclusive to the newer generation, Rob, if I'm honest. I mean, I'm only a few years shy of 50, and yet, I expect to have consumer grade technology at home and in the workplace.
Yeah. And I think as well, if people, don't get that experience, they can quite easily go elsewhere and get it, because it is a challenging job market. And I suppose the thing to think about there is, what is the cost of that, right? So you've got to offboard someone. So there's a cost associated with that. With security, you've got to onboard someone. Okay, there's costs there's figures of $3,000 to $4,000 for £1,000 for someone to be onboarded, and that's not even talking about the hiring cost. And then you've got to get them up to speed. Then they might not know, have that tacit knowledge that the person's just left. It is a constant challenge for people. And to keep that good group of people so that you can grow as an organisation is really important.
Absolutely.
We'll stop there, and we'll move on. Oh, there we go. So this is the kind of challenge statement, right? This is what we're here to talk about. How can we leverage the Now platform to increase efficiency, to enhance customer and employee experience, and achieve operational excellence, right? That is what we want to know. So ServiceNow's approach to this is to modernize, to automate, and to optimize. Okay. Now, what do we mean by that? Because they're quite high level statements, and some of you might be scratching your head. Well, modernizing IT is all about improving service delivery and lowering costs. Like we said, people expect that digital seamless experience. Anything less and they'll go elsewhere. That applies to customers and employees. Employees expect a single pane of glass, and we want to have one place to go and not have to swivel chair between this tool and that tool. Just have everything in one platform. And some of you on this call may have begun that journey and started to consolidate your older legacy tools, which is great, right, into the Now platform. What is that next step? Right, and that's where that's where we want to automate things. The sheer volume of data being created today from applications and services is too much for teams to intelligently process with speed. Okay, artificial intelligence augments your workforce by processing repetitive tasks, so they can focus on the more interesting and innovative tasks. So right at the top of the call, we're talking about how do we unlock innovation, okay? Well, by having automation at the center of our digital strategy, that is going to help us achieve, that newer innovation that employees are looking for and customers are looking for. Optimize. So you've started that AI-based automation journey, and now it's time to optimize the processes and ensure robust governance. ServiceNow has unique vendor, digital portfolio, and cloud governance, along with workforce, process management capabilities that can help you do this. Damien, what are the benefits and the challenges to taking this modernize, automate, and optimize approach?
Well, I think you've covered it, right? So it's really our best practice guidance based on where we've done this in the past with customers. Now, if you think about modernize being that, using a single cloud platform with market leading baseline IT processes, incident problem change, we're not looking to redefine those. Having that on one platform, one data model, CMDB tied closely in with some of the stuff that you do in ITOM with discovery and business service definition and mapping. This is like the foundation for digital transformation, and it's our baseline for service operations. Now, with automation, what that does is it brings in machine learning and virtual agent chatbots, and then, optimizes helping protect revenue and growth. So the benefits of doing it in a phased approach is to maximize return on investment in technology. You don't want to be buying expensive shelfware. You don't want to be buying a solution that comes bundled with automation software if you're not ready to use it. And, I've seen in the marketplace, talk to technology leaders, and sometimes automation scares them, or certainly scares the technical teams, as, people think that if you automate away work, it's going to replace them. Now, obviously, there was a similar element of fear back in the banking sector, back when ATMs, hole in the wall to go and get your cash out was added to banks. Banking financial services people thought that was going to be a game changer and they were all going to lose their jobs. Well, ultimately, the financial service industry boomed, because what it did, it just replaced the menial, repetitive work. What it does, instead of replacing people, it actually frees them up to do more high value, more meaningful work. So if a service desk agent has work automated, like the repetitive stuff, like password resets, the high frequency, low priority work is automated, it means they can focus on more meaningful, challenging, and innovative work. So rather than being replaced, they're actually being, empowered to do more and do it with, a degree of accuracy and efficiency that they wouldn't be able to do without those automation capabilities. So I think that's some of the benefits, and in terms of challenges, like I say, it's all about, making sure that you make an investment in the right level of technology that aligns with your maturity. So if you have already begun that consolidation process, merging onto a ServiceNow or merging onto a single cloud platform, and then, got those core baseline processes in place, then it's time to start thinking about the automation use cases.
Yeah, start with that simple foundation. And I can completely resonate with people being scared of automation. I've worked in organizations where, we've introduced newer technology that has included automation. And people are scared. They're thinking that's here to replace my job. But I think one of the key things to do in that situation is to communicate that, what the value, the benefit of what we're trying to do here. We've got to listen to the employees. We've got to understand what their concerns are, and then explain to them, this is, going to help you, right? Instead of you having to do, constant routing and reassignment, or have to answer, fairly typical standard questions like escalating a ticket or requesting a catalog item. That's all automated. Let's go and do the fun stuff, right? Let's go and design stuff. Let's go and be creative, because that's what the newer employees are looking for. And I think that's something to bear in mind when going on this journey, because it is a journey of kind of, starting to get things into the platform and then looking at those AI capabilities and features.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Let's move on to the final question that we've got for today, which is, do you know what ITSM Pro is, right? I think I've spoken to a lot of customers in the build up to this, and there is some ambiguity about what it includes, what it doesn't include, kind of what value it does. If we just have a few seconds now to answer this question about, I am relatively new to ITSM Pro, so that's why I'm here. Or yes, I know what the basics are, or, I know what the benefits are, but I want to know how to implement it, or, I've already implemented it or going to. Where do our, customers, our viewers today see themselves in this journey?
Can I answer this question, or am I excluded?
I think you might have done this a few times, Damien, which might skew the statistics.
Question for you. While the attendees are answering, do we have the results from the previous polling questions? Do we cover those at the end?
Yes, we should do. I can see them right at the end. So let me.
Excellent, yeah. I'd just be
Yeah,
curious to understand how people in the audience are, responding to these. You and I have spoken about, employee experience. Be interesting to see if that reflects and resonates with what we're hearing, on the webinar.
So I can see that with the strategic priority, okay, most people, it's actually 50-50, interestingly. Increase efficiency and employee experience is split 40% of our
Okay.
views today, and customer experience is 20%. With nobody interested in operational excellence, which is interesting. But I think that might be a terminology aspect about kind of what that means. But I mean, employee experience, it's glad to see that a lot of people are kind of in line with what we're talking about today. And the initial question, most people are in a reactive, and second is responsive position.
Yeah.
So I think
That
like what
makes
we're
sense.
about to talk about, I think what we're about to talk about is going to help people. So let's see what the results are for this. So we've got 60% are I'm relatively new to ITSM Pro, and that's why I'm here. And then we've got a split 2020 between yes, I know, but I want to understand how to implement it, and yes, I've already done it. So this is
Cool.
this is interesting. We've got a mixed audience today. So let's dive into it then, Damien. What I want to talk about is what is ITSM Pro and how does it differ from ITSM standard? What are the different capabilities that you get with it?
Sure. Well, we talked about modernize, automate, and optimize. And ITSM standard is really our solution that we offer on the platform to help customers with that modernize phase. When they're ready to start delving into the automation space, that's really when we start talking about capabilities like virtual agent, our native chatbot, where they can start automating conversations, and then predictive intelligence is our native machine learning capabilities. You can see the applications that you get in the middle line there. And the idea is that you get ITSM standard, you add the capabilities in ITSM Pro, all of those applications in that middle pillar. And what that results in is the benefit statements that you can see on the right, in terms of improving productivity, enabling self-service, and really propelling the business forwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's some of the capabilities are pretty impressive and offer just a different way of working. What challenges do you think ITSM Pro solves?
Well, challenges is what we did at the start of this year is we started to evaluate what problems customers were solving with our automation capabilities. And we came up with things like our, enabling AI-powered self-service, and how can you deliver that AI-powered employee experience using, ServiceNow's tools, so using ITSM Pro. Being able to even we recently added DevOps into ITSM Pro, so you can start increasing change throughput, while also keeping down risks and overheads with AI. And what we did, we tried to map out some problem statements, what the solution is, and then the mixture of capabilities on the platform that solves that. And that ultimately leads to what we call our global solutions framework. So now at ServiceNow, we're kind of going to market with our customers. Rather than talking about individual features and functions, we like to understand what is the challenge that the customer is solving, how can the Now platform solve that, and what capabilities within the Now platform are required to deliver that capability. And very often we're seeing ITSM and ITOM come together under this banner of service operations, where we can start looking at all the noise that comes into an IT organization, all the human generated traffic that comes in via the service desk, all of the machine generated noise that comes in through alerts and monitoring. And that's where ITSM and ITOM really come together to be able to break down silos and deliver real value to our customers.
Yeah, I think scale is something that comes to mind, is that, we said that there's a digital explosion, right? Since, I suppose, pre-pandemic even, there's been more and more tech within business. So with that, you do get a lot more noise. You do get a lot more events, right? You do get a lot more incidents and tickets. So it's not scalable to just hire another person, because that's just expensive, right? We need to be smart about it. We need to include artificial intelligence to be able to scale with that demand of this digital first strategy. You know, like you said, there's so much noise coming from events that are generated on your estate, which might tell you to be, you know, proactive. In the background I work in ITOM with event management, there's artificial intelligence from that. And then from the ticketing world, right, where people are raising tickets or raising requests, right, that's growing in scale as well, because there's much more demand for technology. So we have to obviously adopt the AI capabilities that I think ITSM Pro provides. I think that's the way forward.
Yeah, totally agree.
Right, so let's dive into it then. Oh, actually, before we do so, I want to ask, what's your favorite application out of the ITSM Pro suite, being your baby?
Well, I don't have a favorite. I think if you ask the customers, if you did another poll, I think virtual agent would probably be the application customers like to deploy first to, you know, automate away conversations. But I think, you know, without saying a favorite, I think actually running predictive intelligence using some of the clustering analytics capabilities, or even we've actually packaged it as an application called automation discovery. It helps our customers identify opportunities for automation using their own data. And I think that's a game changer.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think because we've both worked on the service desk, we kind of feel some of the pain. And I think predictive intelligence, which we're going to talk about in a moment, you know, really does make the service desk lives easier. That employee experience that we talked about at the top of the call. So let's move on. So DevOps, you said there that it's newly, you know, not many people know about it, but it's actually been added to the ITSM Pro suite of applications. But I think it's certainly a game changer. DevOps is quite a big term within IT, and it can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, right? DevOps on the ServiceNow platform, though, integrates with your planning, your coding, your orchestration, and testing tools, right? So it pulls all of that data into one system. That, you know, from Jira to GitHub and GitLab, Azure, Jenkins, SonarQube, pulls all of that, which is what we talk about modernization, into one tool, so that it can be leveraged within processes like change management, so that, you know, there's less time between you know, a feature being released within DevOps and that going through the change management process. It also provides really great insights. So I've implemented this recently for a customer, and, you know, it's being able to see the change element, but also the DevOps element. So the branches, the commits, who's committing lots. Well, why is that? Let's go back and understand why this one individual is making lots of commits. I mean, Damien, do you think that covers accurately what DevOps is? Is there anything else that you would add to that?
DevOps is a minefield of a concept between, you know, bringing in developers and operations together. And our DevOps change velocity application that is now part of ITSM Pro is exactly what you've just covered. I think we can actually go a step further, and I may be shot down here, but, you know, as a product manager, I normally like to show a safe harbor slide, but I think I'm fairly safe in saying that it's in the public domain. ServiceNow made a number of acquisitions over the last few years, and one of the more recent ones was an acquisition of a company called Swiggle that really specialized in the configuration space. And we're about to go live in our new Tokyo release with our DevOps config application. Now, this is going to empower a further shifting left of our whole ITSM strategy. You know, we're continuously ensuring configuration changes adhere to policy, and thus ultimately preventing outages due to incorrect configurations. That, you know, I think there's a study that says over 80% of software outages can be traced back to errors in configuration. So, you know, this combined with the DevOps change velocity application and having DevOps config as well is going to have huge benefits to our customers as they scale their digital transformation journey.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the story that comes to mind, when I worked with this customer to implement DevOps recently, one of the kind of pain points they had was lack of visibility and lack of automation, right? They couldn't see what DevOps was doing within change management, and whenever they did, they'd butt heads, and it'd take a long time for a feature to get through that change management process because it has to wait for a cab, which could be weekly, and that kind of slows down your ability to react to what's going out there in the environment from a customer perspective. Is that if you want to introduce a new feature, a new capability, well, you need to be able to be dynamic and agile in that respect. But if you're waiting for, the integration from a DevOps to a change management perspective, you're never going to get there. I mean, one of the key statistics you can see on the screen here is that it's 95% cutting integration times. That's huge, right? Instead of your DevOps teams waiting around, right, losing efficiency, you've got that time back to be able to be more innovative, introduce newer features and capabilities into the business. It's a real gold mine, I think. And, like you said, with the Swiggle and the kind of configuration capability, it's definitely just a newer level of service management and service operations. Cool. Some things which I think would be worthwhile mentioning from a DevOps implementation perspective is that keep automation key into what you're trying to achieve. There is a temptation to when you're integrating with change management to want to introduce different hurdles and hoops to go through. But that can slow down what you're trying to achieve. The aim here is to automate, to try and get your DevOps change through that change process as quickly as possible. To try and keep that manual intervention as less as possible. Get your teams aligned as well, right? Resources early. We've got people from different areas of the business that need to be involved. And a simple one, ensure you've got API access as soon as possible, because getting the data in is the first part, and then it makes it a lot easier. Right, so we've talked about DevOps there and how it can modernize, bringing stuff into the system, into the platform. Predictive intelligence. So, Damien, you said this is one of your favorite, and I completely agree. Customers demand a quick and seamless process when they submit an IT ticket with consistent service quality and resolution every time. So to deliver on this experience, issues need to be correctly assigned, routed and resolved in as little time and handoff between team members as possible, right? Now, there is, some customers do have a semi-automated way of doing this, but it doesn't really keep up with demands. You've got service teams having long queues to triage. And before they can even get started on those issues, right, and fix those issues, the tickets are just growing in size. And it gets more difficult then to see meaningful patterns and research past solutions to quickly find the best approach, right? So this is a challenge which, we've seen on service desk before, where, scale comes in and it's difficult to kind of adapt to that. I really think that predictive intelligence is such a game changer. It can improve incident response times. It's quicker incident resolution. And as you can see there, it lowers the error rates when assigning tickets, 66%, right? Just think, you're not breaking SLAs there. Now, I really like the agent assist capability, Damien, where it can actually show you similar tickets. I think it's, I know when I've in the past tried to find similar issues, sometimes you're wading through so much data and it's just a waste of time.
100%. I mean, what some people may not realize is that this technology has actually been part of the Now platform since 2017 in our Kingston release. Back at the beginning of 2017, we announced another one of our acquisitions. We acquired a small machine learning specialist company called DX Continuum. And I remember they pitched to our Chief Innovation Officer, Dave Wright. They literally came in and they analyzed our data using ServiceNow's own platform. We called it our High system, where many of our customers have logged calls before we rebranded as Impact. And people would log tickets on the High system. And the DX Continuum guys did a demo to us, and they categorized all of our tickets. And they said, did you know you've got 450 resolver groups that have got 0 tickets in? So they actually helped us optimize our own processes before we even made the acquisition. But what I loved about it was that, it allowed us to, be able to classify and accurately route tickets with a degree of efficiency that is just not capable with, human eyes alone. And predictive intelligence helps teams work faster by recommending content to agents, after making connections between incidents, cases, alerts, knowledge base articles. We've talked about accurately categorizing and assigning, prioritizing incoming requests. It frees up teams to focus on problem solving that humans do best. I absolutely love predictive intelligence. And like I say, it's been around since our Kingston release. And if you think about our release cycles, Kingston, London, Madrid, New York, Orlando, Paris, Quebec, Rome, San Diego. We've had 9 releases of ServiceNow where we've continually innovated and added new functionality into this predictive intelligence. I spoke earlier about automation discovery and clustering analytics. We talk about the similarity framework. It's a whole minefield of abilities within predictive intelligence. You asked me earlier, what's my favorite ITSM Pro application? Perhaps I'm giving the game away.
Yeah. I think it speaks for itself, really. I mean, one of the things that I think is a barrier for customers going into kind of this predictive intelligence and AI is the need to hire an expensive predictive intelligence resource to configure and manage the solution, where it's not the case within ITSM Pro.
We see it a lot, and I talk to technology, strategists, and talk to customers, and people often ask, about automation components, specifically AI, how complex is it to maintain? And, predictive intelligence, machine learning operates within the context of our customers' data set and existing ServiceNow workflows. So as a result, the machine learning models are finely tuned to recognize historical patterns, and they're like trend specific to the enterprise language and service processes that are bespoke to that customer. All the customer data, all the model training stays within the ServiceNow platform, which means that there's no need to rely on third-party data scientist tools to build or train the model, because it's native to the ServiceNow platform using, scriptable prediction APIs. We can allow developers to use predictions in their own custom apps and workflows built on ServiceNow, and actually it really reduces the need to maintain all of that AI because it's native to the platform and bespoke to the customer's data.
Yeah, I know security is very much a top concern for CIOs and CTOs in 2022. Yep. And it's good to know that it's all within ServiceNow, so we're not reliant on another vendor. Yep. That you might have to have.
It doesn't leave the Now platform. So the customer data and the training model are all on the Now platform.
And once the training models have been configured and trained, the data is not kept, it's deleted, right? So you don't need to kind of be conscious that it's going to be stored there. I think one thing, but just by the way, guys, the speed to set up predictive intelligence, it doesn't actually take that long. I mean, I know I'm saying that from a consultant on the ServiceNow platform, so it might be easy for me to say that, but I do think it's a capability that's in reach of a lot of our customers, and it can add so much value. So, have a look at it. There's lots of material out there that tells you how to set it up. The only thing I think worth noting is that you've got between 30 and 300,000 tickets that it utilizes to be able to, generate those suggestions that we talked about there. So make sure you've got those kind of ticket levels in your system. Okay, so moving on to the final feature of ITSM Pro then today, which is Virtual Agent. And Virtual Agent is all about having the right agent at the right time. I mean, how many people on this call have needed an answer to a fairly common request quickly, but need to ring the service desk and then have to wait to speak to someone and then have to wait to explain your situation? I mean, I know I have. And it's frustrating, right? Especially when, time is a luxury these days. There's some industry measures about how much, a cost of a call is, and it's going to vary depending on industry, but $8.06 is the average for a service desk call. So if we can reduce the amount of calls that are coming in to the service desk, right there, it's a value add, right? It's a no-brainer. You're saving money. So when you go into the business, you do a simple calculation. How many tickets do we have? Right. If we can cut that by, I don't know, 50%, then that's a quantifiable metric that you can take to the business and say, we think we should go to ITSM Pro and use Virtual Agent because it's going to save us lots of money. I mean, Damien, I know that you've got some customers that have gone through this and have saved loads of money on it.
Yeah, well, I was at Knowledge K22, our event in The Hague at the end of May, and I came back to London and switched on Sky News and saw Ian King on Sky News talking to Bill McDermott, our CEO. And along the bottom of Sky News was like a bold statement that says BT forecast £25 million savings with ServiceNow. I thought that's a pretty good customer reference for a start. Yeah. Bearing in mind we haven't delivered that yet, but that's what BT are forecasting. And again, you can Google it. There's a number of articles out there. But BT's digital unit is working to modernize all their group service management with a delivery of unified, service management platform. They've chosen ServiceNow. They're consolidating a number of legacy platforms, dramatically simplifying their service management processes across the whole of BT Group. And they've estimated 25 million in cumulative savings over the next 5 years from the implementation. And even an early deployment has already shown a 50% reduction in the efforts on service and change management requests. So, like you said, you mentioned this $8 per call. If you're a large organization and you've got 100,000 requests coming into your help desk, if you can automate 50% of them, you just do the maths, you can very quickly make huge cost savings.
100%, and it's all about reducing the human workload, because that's going to give people in your organization time to breathe, time to kind of invest in themselves, rather than just kind of constantly churning through ticket after ticket, answering the same old question. Right? They've got time where they can focus on, learning something new, developing, innovating, which is what we talked about, right at the top of the call. It's all about that employee experience. And I really do think Virtual Agent gives you that. It responds immediately to users' questions and incidents and improves the business efficiency and customer satisfaction. Again, it's one of those kind of metrics that people, want to, achieve is customer satisfaction. If I use Amazon Prime, for example, and I've had an email before that says, Rob, by the way, you've received a package. And I hadn't received the package. I went online, went on to my app, used the Virtual Agent, and within less than a minute, I got it resolved. Now, the old way of doing that would be I'm calling up someone, I'm waiting, got to dial this number and that number. It's frustrating. Nobody wants that as an experience. And that's why I think Virtual Agent is huge, and it's such a lost opportunity if we're not using it on the platform. I think it can do so much good for all of our customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we move on, Damien, I just wanted to talk about what type of requests can Virtual Agent handle. What do you see as being the most common requests?
Well, the funny thing is you can go onto the ServiceNow store and you can download our content packs where we've got a number of pre-built conversations. And they're typically, like I say, your high frequency, low priority requests that are coming in. That's what Virtual Agent is designed to do. It's not designed to replace humans. It's designed to free up humans to focus on the more demanding, challenging use cases. But if you also then combine Virtual Agent with our integration hub, for example, you can actually trigger a workflow based off a Virtual Agent conversation. So you could be chatting to a Virtual Agent as an end user, and you can actually ask the Virtual Agent to reset your Citrix session, for example. And then using Integration Hub, Virtual Agent can trigger a workflow that kicks off that reset process. So there's a whole heap of use cases that Virtual Agent can solve.
Yeah, it's only the tip of the iceberg. You kind of you can start off that conversation, but because the Now platform integrates so seamlessly into other areas, and you've got the workflow capability behind it, really the limit is your imagination of what you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what do you think the best way to adopt virtual agent, if a customer was to look at where to start, what do you think the best way is to achieve setting that up?
Best practice says start small, grow incrementally, educate your user base, get top-down, senior stakeholder buy-in. Obviously, partners that we've got like Crossviews, you've got experience on deploying this, right? So you've got an offering on how to get the most out of virtual agent with your Grow to Pro solution. So my advice to our customers and to the listeners on this webinar would be, follow the best practice guidance. We've got 65 pre-built conversations in the content pack out of the store. Yeah. Use something like automation discovery to identify those automation opportunities using your own data. Pick the top 5, roll that out as virtual agent conversations, educate the user base to start using it, monitor it, use the analytics so you can start to see trends of how those conversations are being used. And then you can run the automation discovery again and roll out more virtual agent conversations.
And that automation discovery capability, is that licensed in ITSM Pro, or is that in another?
Yeah, automation discovery is built on clustering analytics, which is part of predictive intelligence. I mean, automation discovery is basically a user interface that uses that technology.
Yeah, so really the smart way to do there is analyze your data. That'll tell you what you need to target, and then you can go from there, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a good point. We'll come on to the Grow to Pro solution later, but virtual agent is part of that solution that we're offering. But yeah, there's 3 features there that I think are just pretty the best of ITSM Pro. And then we've got some metrics here that just to validate that what we're talking about isn't just our opinion. This is backed up by actual real data. 79% of deflection rate for incoming phone calls, right? Again, that's got a cost associated with it, right? And we're reducing that cost. Faster average mean time to resolution than industry average. Happier customer satisfaction goes up. We're not waiting around for anything. And then the reduction in change process time. Well, if we can get newer and quicker features out, right, to our customers, and we're not waiting for a cumbersome change process, then again, customers happy, employees are happy, and you're going to have a more of a better experience there. I mean, is there any other use cases that you'd want to share around ITSM Pro, Damien?
Yeah, I've been working with some customers recently, and actually we've published some more case studies. I think these are great because they kind of show us real world examples that are backing up our bold claims of how great this technology is, and it helps give us credibility in the market. I've been working with some customers recently. Last summer we published a case study with the Driver and Vehicle Standard Agency in the UK, working with one of our other partners, and they deployed virtual agent that in the first month they were able to deflect 55% of all of their service interactions that were going into the DVSA help desk. And then more recently been working with a company called Marken. They are a clinical trials company, and again using ITSM Pro they've now got 85% of all of their IT requests are automated. And there's a great big company in the Netherlands as well called ASML. They manufacture equipment that helps produce silicon microchips. So they've now got over 6,000 of their 32,000 employees connected with Virtual Agent in the first few weeks. And they're measuring the user satisfaction rate and the predictability rate. And they've actually got their predictability rate up to 90%. And they're able to measure that using a new feature that we launched in our San Diego release called the Conversational Interfaces Dashboard. It's basically like an admin console for Virtual Agent.
Yeah, and there's that. Just on the note of that, there are dashboards that are provided with the applications that help you like identify how it's being utilized. I know that's something that's come up with customers in the past. Is like, how do I know how many tickets are being routed to an agent rather than being self-serviced, for example. So
Yeah,
you can manage it from that perspective. So, I mean, that's great. We've got statistics to back it up, and we've talked about how we achieve that. What's the cost of doing nothing? Well, I mean, this is from my experience, is, if we don't invest in our organization, in our IT, then we fall behind and we become irrelevant. Slow innovation, not able to push things out to market, reactive firefighting, costly resources that are trying to, put fires out constantly instead of thinking the bigger picture. Services impacts and outages. Customers get frustrated. So I think there's a big challenge that if you don't kind of go with what industry is saying, and a lot of other customers have already done so, then you are at risk of falling behind. I mean, Damien, is that something that you see with your customers?
Absolutely, and I go into conversations hearing people sometimes come up with objection statements like ServiceNow is too expensive, or ITSM Pro, the licensing costs are too expensive compared to ITSM Standard. And then it all comes back to this cost and risk of doing nothing. It's like, if you don't want to digitally transform or have a competitive edge in the market, then maybe that view is correct. But actually, you've seen some of the metrics we just shared with the value metrics of some of those companies. We've talked about the amazing results that BT are forecasting. I think, like I say, you can either do nothing, or you can make an investment in a solution and gain maximum return on that investment. And that can actually see you, overcome that slow innovation. You don't get stuck in that legacy world, and you certainly aren't stuck firefighting.
Yeah, 100%. And this is where, what we're asking our viewers is what they need to do. We've talked today about, lots of good things, but we want you to start with what your objectives are, what your key strategic objectives are, and then align them to what some of the features in ITSM Pro is. Rather than just, going, I want that feature, because it sounds great. We want you to be more business value aligned and conscious of what you're trying to achieve. And hopefully, this webinar has given you just a taster of what's involved in ITSM Pro. Obviously, it's not everything, but it'll give you a kind of feel. And if I just go back a slide, that was me. The other thing to mention, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So we've talked about modernize, automate, and optimize. Don't try and jump to that last hurdle without doing it properly, because that's where I see a lot of customers failing. And the other thing is to come speak to us. We've got a ready-made solution where we can get you to Pro. It's called Grow to Pro, which I think is going to be revolutionary. I think it's going to help a lot of customers unlock some of this value and capability. So I know we've got some questions, right, Caitlin?
Yes, we do. And thanks, you guys. That was really, really great discussion. There have been several questions that have come in. I think most of them we've actually addressed throughout the conversation, but there is one I think I'd like to bring up with you guys in our remaining couple of minutes here. And that is around analytics for Virtual Agent. What analytics are available for Virtual Agent for unanswered questions?
I can take that one, Caitlin. So brand new in the San Diego release, we launched this new conversational analytics dashboard to help improve virtual agent interactions. And that dashboard provides deep insights into conversational data, enabling you to refine topics and increase the percentage of issues resolved by virtual agent. So, it measures all the interactions with users, provides deep insights into conversational data, and like I say, things like failed utterances when deploying natural language understanding. So if you go to the ServiceNow store, look for the conversational, interfaces admin dashboard, then you can download that, and it literally just plugs straight into your existing virtual agent implementation.
Yeah, I think it's all part of that feedback loop, making sure that, what we're doing is right, and if there's anything that we need to adjust. But it's good that, people are thinking on that line. And I think that's, is that all the questions, Caitlin?
Well, it's all that we have
addressed.
time for sure. It's, certainly there's a lot of content here and a lot that, we could keep discussing if we had the time. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining and for your questions and participating in the polls and everything. If you'd like to talk more about this, absolutely reach out to us, to anybody on this call. You can just reply to the email that you received to confirm this. There are many ways to get a hold of us. Crossuse.com is our website. So reach out to us. We'd love to continue the conversation. And with that, thank you very much, Rob. Thank you, Damien. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers all. Bye.